When you clearly don't work somewhere, but people seem to think you do. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Work Here, Lady. Our first one is from Kooky Respect 5925. I was in the paints aisle at a major hobby crafts store buying acrylic paints for my color theory course. I needed exact matches and was using the color guide the professor gave us. I needed about a dozen paints. Due to this, I ended up kneeling on the floor, laying out a variety of paints next to the printout before making my final cut and putting them in a handbasket next to me. I had something like 30 paints of differing brands laid out in rows. This took some time. Note, I was in plain clothes and the employees wear an apron as their uniform over plain clothes. I can understand the mix-up. Some time goes by and a teenager comes up to me and asks me where the watercolor pencils are. I'm familiar with the store and tell her it's just on the other side of the shelf I'm facing, towards the bottom. I almost wanted to say, I don't work here, but she had a list and I'm guessing she was a high school student. Besides, I knew where the pencils were and it didn't hurt me to tell her. Few minutes pass and now she's returned with 3 sketchbooks and presents them to me. I'm still on the floor and asks me which one is best for watercolors. I tell her none of them will work because they're for sketching. So I get up and walk around the end of the aisle, grab a pad of watercolor paper similar in size and bring it back. She thanks me and hands me the 3 rejected sketchbooks, which I set on the floor next to me. I figured I would just put them away when I'm done putting the paints back. No big deal. Finally, I'm at the registers in line waiting to pay. The young lady I had helped ends up being in the line next to me, just a person ahead. She's putting her things on the counter when she glances around and recognizes me and smiles. She says, "Thanks for the help." I nod and smile back, telling her it was no problem. I also at this point thought, okay, maybe she knew I didn't work here and just saw a friendly face to ask for a little help. When it's my turn at the counter, the girl is passing me with her bag of supplies and she stops and goes wide-eyed. She says, "Oh my god, you don't work here? Why did you help me?" I'm laughing at this point, telling her she's fine and I don't mind. So she runs up and hugs me and says she's so embarrassed before running out of the store. This was pre-COVID times. Yeah, I accepted a hug from a sweet stranger who thought I worked there. It was a cute experience. I used to work a lot of retail when I was about her age and through college, and I guess it's my vibe or something. People are so ugly all the time out there in the world. It was just nice being nice to nice people. That doesn't happen often, unfortunately. See, it's stories like this I enjoy reading because there wasn't real drama or anything like that. It's just people helping people, and if more people actually helped one another out instead of trying to trash them, I think the world would make a lot more progress. This next one is by Mike Oxenfair. On mobile, yada yada. I'm reminded of something that happened to a friend of mine maybe 1 or 2 years ago after reading another post on which a Karen threatened to have someone's job. I'll tell this story as it was told to me, in the first person. So I'm out shopping for a few things, bread, milk, bin bags, etc. I remember that I needed some ham, so I go to the cooked meats aisle and look for something tempting. As I'm searching for something nice, I hear a voice behind me saying, "Excuse me," in a not at all polite manner. I look over my shoulder and see the local Karen. I acknowledge her and take 2 steps to the side, but I don't turn around. I feel a tap on my shoulder and the same non-too-polite voice saying, "Excuse me, I'm talking to you, don't ignore me." I turn around and open my mouth to ask what she wants and why she's being rude. But before I can speak, she starts berating me for being a lazy member of staff and ignoring her. I say, "If you think I work here, you're wrong. I don't." And she says, "You're just being fucking lazy. I'll have your job." "Really?" I say back, feigning surprise. "You'll have my job?" "Yes, I will," she says with a strange mixture of superiority, righteousness, and stupidity. "Okay, suit yourself. You can have it." I waved my hands around in strange shapes and announced, "You are now officially a member of staff." It is said that a picture can speak 1,000 words, but the look on her face at this point just said, "What the fuck? But I want you to get things for me." I want, she starts. Don't ask me. I'm a customer. You should ask a colleague since you work here. In fact, you can help me with what I need. What? But I don't work here, she gibbers. Yes, you do. You just said you'd have my job, and I gave it to you. Now fuck off and leave me alone. She stomps off, but that was not the end of it. Another customer who's clearly seen the interaction stopped her halfway up the aisle and said, loudly enough for me to hear, "Oh, finally someone who works here. Can you get that heavy thing off the top shelf?" "Oh, fuck off!" she exploded and walked, presumably out of the shop. Other customer, you absolute legend. I always love when a Karen gets their due, and in this case, I was even thrown for a loop. I did not expect someone to give their non-existent job to the Karen and then for the Karen to reject it after she said she would have it. This next one is from Catatonicus. So I was sewing new cushions for my RV dining benches when I realized I was a bit short on material. I quickly ran to the nearest Wally World. I went to the fabric section, found my fabric, but there was no employee to cut the fabric and price it. I hit the button. I waited, and waited. I hit the button again, several times. After literally 20 minutes, I started to roll out my fabric so that when she showed up, it was ready for cutting and would expedite this process. Yet still no one came. So I stood there when two ladies came up to the table with bolts of fabric. "Hi, can you cut these really quick? We are in a hurry," they told me. I looked at them and said, "No, honey, I don't work here." "Well, you certainly look official," they replied. I looked down at my outfit. I was wearing patterned leggings and a pro-marijuana t-shirt, and a mask that had a Russian word that means cunt. I started laughing and they got mad, threatened to call a manager. I was about to tell them hurry up and call because I was still waiting, but then the workers showed up. I think in this situation, a lot of people just assume if someone's in an area and they're the only ones there, then they obviously work in that store, which couldn't be further from the truth. And our final one is by Ziggy the First. So I do Kyudo, which is traditional Japanese longbow archery. On my way to practice, I decided to stop by a big box store and grab some snacks and water for the group. For those unfamiliar with Kyudo, practitioners wear a hakama while practicing. Google it and you will see why there's no way this outfit can be mistaken for anything close to a big box store uniform. As I'm ringing myself up at the self-checkout, a woman comes up to me and starts saying, "Where are the children's masks?" I look at her and say, "I don't know," before turning back to my own items to ring up. She then taps me on the shoulder again and says, "I need you to go find me some masks for children." At which point I look her dead in the eye and say, "I don't work here, lady." Confused woman proceeds to go, "What do you mean?" I mean, I do not work here. At this point, I'm done ringing myself up and I walk away, and the woman is left confused at the self-checkout. Like, I'm not really sure where she thought you wearing a hakama was store uniform, or where you would actually be able to assist finding the items she needed, but I'm glad in the end she was left confused, and hopefully she actually asked an actual worker instead of the next customer that came up to self-checkout. Alright, that's enough stories for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.